The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists. Tone Vase from Liberty Life Trail.
Welcome everyone. It's everyone's calling me I told you so Vase now, which is great. I love it.
Along with I told you so, we've got Jeffrey Jones from the Bitcoin News Show. Chris Ellis from ProTip. Blake Anderson, cryptographic economist.
Hey, everybody.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue 1. It's pretty much going to break my screen share. Let's see.
Bum, bum, bum.
Drama. What will issue 1 be? It's a good time to give us a thumbs up and a share if you're watching at home. Issue 1. SEC rejects Winklevoss Bitcoin ETF, sending the price tumbling. On Friday, government regulators, what the heck is he saying? They rejected the Bitcoin ETF, saying that Bitcoin cannot be regulated. The Winklevoss ETF has been unapproved. Jeffrey Jones, what about the Bitcoin ETF?
Well, I guess I have to say I don't think too many people were surprised. I definitely was smoking a little bit of the hopium, just to see maybe if we could get some kind of percentage in there. But despite the BitMEX saying that it was 50% right chance, no, I think everybody, including Tone, called it pretty well, saying that this is not going to be a good idea. It's not going to get approved because you can't regulate Bitcoin. You simply cannot regulate Bitcoin. You can try and you can attempt, but it's just not going to be able to be put in a box like that. But despite it actually despite the ETF not being approved, we are still seeing the prices being pretty sustained, though we kind of, like Blake says, we probably want to wait, and like Chris says, we probably want to wait for the first 24 hours. But I mean, the price is holding pretty well, despite what articles are talking about with the price tumbling. I don't see anything like that. So it's just really exciting times, and I think that the rest of the panelists will back me up when we say that, Bitcoin doesn't need an ETF. This is like Andreas was tweeting this morning. If you think that Bitcoin needs an ETF approval to continue to explode, to actually change the world, then you're doing it wrong. That's just not the case. So I'll pass it on to the rest of the panelists and see what we think.
A 50% chance of stupid. Chris Ellis.
I'm just going to let Blake take this call. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to say thanks to everyone who fundraised this event. We're all here in San Francisco. This is our 1000th episode. And I'd like to echo the sentiment of Fluffy Pony, who's the Monero lead dev, who when asked about the significance of the ETF, said purple. That's a great answer. It's the best because if you're like the rest of us, like in Bitcoin, you don't like obsess over the price every single day and watch it all, then this kind of stuff just goes over you. Like it's interesting and you see it in the background in your peripheral vision. But I do think this is a buy the dip scheme, and people are buying it up. It crashed down on that 15-minute candle a couple of periods ago, and then it's just being held up ever since. So I wouldn't be surprised if we only see something like 950 as a bottom, and it would be a great opportunity to buy back in. And I don't make predictions very lightly. So,
Blake Anderson.
Well, I mean, I hope it goes down really, really low so I can buy a whole bunch. Buy the dip. It's not going down. It's not going down enough fast enough for me to be happy with the discount that'll happen because of this. But I don't know. Some people were thinking that investors are going to flee Bitcoin and never come back. And I think that maybe some will, but most of the time when people come and they invest in Bitcoin and they see the amount of volatility that they can day trade, the amount of money that they can make on long horizons, there's not a whole lot of other places to go to get that product, and they end up coming back, I would say. So I think that the price dropping down after the announcement and then bouncing up so fast is kind of almost like there's a fight between the legacy systems and Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is like Terminator that just got hit by a truck, and the truck basically didn't do any damage, and Terminator got back up. It's like it's proving that Bitcoin is really resilient. So I think that everybody being like, I'm going to bet on a fight between these two. When you see the Terminator get hit by a truck, you're like, I'm going to bet on that mofo. Like, wow, that would have been really bad for anything else. The amount of
So basically, this is good news for Bitcoin.
I don't know if it's totally good news, but I think that there is a long-term, anti-fragile or a stability message to read out of it.
It's good news long-term, I think.
Yeah, it can have a good impact long-term.
Yeah. And Theo is joining us.
I'm just going to sell hopium.
We're joined by Theo Goodman. Theo Goodman, what are your thoughts on the ETF being rejected by the SEC?
Oh, just wanted to say, told you so, that we all said no a few episodes. And of course, now we have to say, told you so a bunch of times. And I think for about a year, we have to reiterate that we all said no a bunch of times, and that they would find some kind of reason. Now, I don't know if what you guys already discussed, and I don't think I think it's someone else's write-up. I think the name of the website is something Hacker News something. I'm sorry, I don't have it right off the tip. It's popular on Twitter. It's a nice breakdown of probable reasons why it was disapproved. And I think that they hit some good points. Some of them we discussed here. Anything ranging from, that a lot of the exchanges are not very regulated. A lot of the volume is in China, so it's kind of hard for the SEC to say, hey, we can protect the investors. So it's not that they hate Bitcoin or they're against Bitcoin itself. I mean, there could be like a lot of conspiracy theories. See, the government is like against Bitcoin because of peer-to-peer or whatever. But really, it's just they're like, okay, look, our job is to make sure that we can kind of, but that we can say that the ETFs are legit and they have certain standard, and it didn't meet the standards by far. So, and that was not a huge surprise. I was actually surprised how far the Winklevoss took it so far, and how euphoric everything got. It did get really crazy last few weeks. And honestly, I'm really happy that it's just, I hope we don't have to hear about ETF for a while. I'm kind of tired of hearing about it and talking about it. Let's just talk about something else. I don't know, whatever other news is going on in the world. Of course, that's the big topic now. There was a lot of volatility.
Of course, next week we have the rumored rare Pepe ETF and the Ethereum ETFs. We have plenty more ETFs.
I think
let's
that's
go to Tone Bays for a big bag of I told you so. Go ahead, Tone.
Haha, well, I'm actually just glad one national nightmare is over for the Bitcoiners. Now we only have to deal with one more, which is the Bitcoin Unlimited, which is clearly the much bigger are also dealing with. So I don't know what else I can say other than I've said everything I needed to say leading up to the ETF. Like nothing to correct myself on. So this is almost like the perfect I told you so. I have not seen any articles to the end result and the reasons why it was eventually rejected, and everything is like what's their look ahead going forward. So I haven't really gotten to those yet. I've kind of just been watching the price. Has been interesting. I'm looking at my charts now. I'm debating if I should pull those up. I guess I should. I can't wait to get a better computer. This is so frustrating. Okay, so let me just do a quick screen share. But by the way, to those that are new that may be watching this, I had plenty of reasons as to why the CTF should not have been approved, and why I thought it would be terrible for the Bitcoin ecosystem if it actually got approved. Those were two completely independent things. So the ETF, the reasons for the ETF not being approved are fairly straightforward. Bitcoin is a brand new asset, only about 8 or 9 years old. Obviously, the SEC has no control of the underlying, and nobody that the SEC trusts have control of the underlying. In addition, the Winklevoss were trying to do too much. They wanted to control the underlying price with their index. They wanted to be responsible for the ETF storage, and they wanted to literally take the fees from the ETF itself by managing the ETF. These three things are usually completely independent of each other, but they were trying to do it all. So these were just, and obviously, Bitcoin is too speculative of an asset, and we don't, as far as we know, almost everyone that has ever stored large amounts of Bitcoin has been hacked in one way or another, whether internally or externally. So these were all of very logical reasons to not allow the ETF. In addition, SEC allowing the ETF, they would automatically be bombarded with ETF of every kind from every altcoin that has ever existed. So now the SEC would become, the de facto government agency that decides, which altcoins are legit and which aren't, which is not a position the SEC probably wanted to be in. These were all of like the most obvious possible reasons not to allow the ETF. That is independent of Bitcoiners wanting the ETF. The only Bitcoiners that
the price went up, we were going to make lots of money.
Well, of course, right? The only reason people wanted this ETF is so that they would become rich. And people that keep trying to become rich usually, end up broke. This is why people play the lottery. This is why people are investing in shitcoins. Your luck is going to run out. Now, occasionally people do get lucky, like Roger Ver, like some of the other people that managed to get into Bitcoin real early and actually managed to hold on to it and not sell it all at like $2 because they thought that was the ultimate high, or, leave it all at Mt. Gox, right? So most of that is luck and a little skill, mostly luck, not only to get in very early, but also to hold on to it. And that's great. Like, I'm happy for them that they became rich. Okay. Now, the only people that really wanted the ETF, obviously the Winklevoss twins wanted it so that they can become more rich and more famous. And I talked about that, right? Like, if the Bitcoin twins really cared about the Bitcoin community, they would have been using Bitcoin for the last years and not,
the Bitcoin
sitting
twins
silently trying to get the ETF thing out.
If only they were as good at Bitcoin as they are at rowing.
Yes. Okay. So other people that really wanted the ETF was basically for the rise in the price and perhaps getting Bitcoin more legitimate. However, you have to realize that if the SEC had approved Bitcoin, it creates a giant honeypot of Bitcoin that starts to take Bitcoin out of circulation. What Barry Silbert is currently doing with his and it might, alter the Bitcoin price. Also, it creates this honeypot that the government may one day just take for themselves, right? If the Bitcoin ETF ends up with 20 to 30% of all Bitcoin in 10 years, the US government, if they get into financial trouble, can just come in and take the Bitcoin and completely, ruin the Bitcoin economy. Also, this puts a Bitcoin into the direct control of the bankers. And by bankers, I mean professional traders. Nobody in Bitcoin right now is a professional trader. They're all pretend traders. Real traders trade in billions of dollars, okay? If you put the ETF on the table, they will have full control of bringing it up, crashing it down, bringing it up, crashing it down. All these people, and I don't even believe in them, right? All these people screaming about gold manipulation with derivatives and how gold would be so high if it only wasn't for all these evil derivatives and all these evil bankers. That's going to be the same conspiracy theory, right? Why would you want the ETF? If your conspiracy is that the and the gold ETF is what's keeping the price of gold down, wouldn't your logic also go into the ETF? It's the same exact thing. It would be a derivative controlled by those with money and government approval, right? Now, I don't believe in that conspiracy theory. I kind of think that the reason why gold is so high today is because of those derivatives, not that's why it's so low. I think it's the other way around. So even then, the Bitcoin ETF would probably, by my conspiracy theory, having this ETF will increase the price of Bitcoin, but it does nothing for the Bitcoin underlying economy, which shouldn't even want the ETF for the dangers that it can create. That's kind of my views on the ETF. Let me just do a quick screen share in order to display the price situation right now. And and I'm gonna zoom in on this as well so everybody can see real clear.
As you're getting that up, I wanted to agree that I think your third point is the most important, that Bitcoin is not ready for the kind of market manipulation that it would be subject to on the stock market. A long time ago, Satoshi said to WikiLeaks, we're not ready for you to take donations. We don't want that spotlight yet. And I think this is the same thing where, yes, we want everyone's retirement fund to invest in Bitcoin, but do we want the major traders who are out there looking for a weak asset to play with? Do we want Bitcoin to be their plaything?
Right. No, and I agree with that as well. Okay, so here's the chart. Like the moment right after the ETF was announced. By the way, there was a couple of interesting things that went on here, and I'll probably talk about it in. So right before the ETF, there were these spikes. Right here, there was this spike. Oh wow, yellow was probably a terrible color to use. Let's use purple. Let's make this smaller. So there was this spike right here above 1300. This is classic Wall Street. This is the kind of shit you see like around the Fed announcements, around like the Brexit announcements. This is where people with money and people that know what they're doing take out people's stop losses, right? This is where there were a lot of people short, and someone that knows what they're doing. And this is why I don't trade Bitcoin, by the way. This is also why I don't trade during certain speculative days. This is classic. This is you take out all of the stop losses of those that were short. You just knock them all out an hour or two before the announcement. And then those people now feel like shit because they had the right position on the short, but they got stopped out. Okay. This is classic. This happens all the time. This is why 90% of traders end up losing all of their money and just get more and more frustrated. Okay, so that's one thing that happened. Here's the other thing, and I snapped this picture like as soon as I could, and this to me looks like the perfect buying opportunity right here. It's between 915, my Fibonacci support line, which has been very critical in the past. You can see this being critical right all through here, okay? And also this is the bottom of my channel, that this channel has been around in like forever. This thing for well over a year, probably going on 2 years soon, okay? And to me, this is the perfect buying opportunity. Now, the absolute perfect buy would be at 915. Will we get to 915? I don't know. We already bounced off of 950, so that's a good enough buying opportunity. Those that caught it, they'll probably do well. So I snapped this screenshot and I tweeted it out within like minutes after the announcement. Talking about this, right? This is the halving all over again. Like if you look at the halving, and I know I'm going on a little bit long, guys, but we did start the show early, and this is good content. So I'm gonna talk about price for a little bit.
I agree. I think it's good content. Thanks, Tone.
We're also joined by Gabriel D. Vine. Gabriel, do you want to tell us your thoughts on the ETF? Maybe Tone will go back to you for a summation.
Yeah, you know what, Gabriel? Yeah. Gabriel, go ahead, and then I'll get back to the price.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more. I love that chart you made there, and it's amazing to see all the candles stacking up because it went down, up, down, or up, down, up again today. Yeah, I really agree with what you said, Tone, which is the ETF does nothing whatsoever for the Bitcoin ecosystem directly. Some people may argue that it brings new capital to the Bitcoin ecosystem by allowing the just the higher market cap, and that is of value. But the thing is that it's doing it in a centralized way, which is against the ethos of the Bitcoin ecosystem. So it's a kind of a shortcut to inject a bunch of capital into the ecosystem that we maybe don't have the capacity for. And I think it's actually totally awesome news. I love it. I think it's positive long-term news. And we're going to see Bitcoin have the space to grow more organically before some sort of fiat vehicles get created as a layer on top, an external layer on top, to allow a lot of capital to slush around on top of it. It's so interesting to see governments trying to deal with this thing. And I'm really glad you brought up WikiLeaks, because I was just thinking about it today, and I don't believe that the WikiLeaks is one of the subjects of our show today, but that's huge news this week with Vault 7 Part 1, the CIA leaks. I mean, a lot of people knew about this, but maybe didn't have the exact details or the exact data on hand to prove it, but we all knew that the CIA was spying, just didn't quite know that it was as bad as the NSA and totally unsupervised. And it's really important to
Hey, I'm sorry. Hey,
out.
Gabriel.
Yeah.
Gabriel, can you elaborate on that a little bit? I'm sorry. I've been in a third world country. I just got back. I have no idea what the WikiLeaks CIA revelations are. So I'm really, really curious. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit more?
Absolutely.
Imagine if your television was spying on you. Go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah. Once again, the name of the WikiLeak, so to speak, was Vault 7 Part 1. It's also known as Vault 7 Year Zero. I'm assuming they're calling it that in a reference to, this is kind of a new era, or era, as we say on the West Coast. Now that Chris is there, little lesson for you. It's a new era. We, now we have the knowledge. I think more of the Snowden leaks were a little bit more of sort of Year Zero, but it's also sort of a hat tip to the 0-day exploit term, which means you find out about the exploit and you have 0 days to fix it before it's known and in the wild. So this Year Zero dump was a massive trove of over 8,000 documents from the CIA detailing their internal surveillance apparatus, which was highly advanced with a huge infrastructure of probably hundreds or even thousands of individuals being involved with spying all over the world, including on Americans, all of which pretty much was unsanctioned by the government, unknown by Congress. It includes revelations that the CIA actually spied on Congress. So they are supposed to go to the NSA, whose official mandate is horrible surveillance, which already shouldn't exist. It's unconstitutional. But regardless, on paper, they're supposed to be able to do it legally, whereas the CIA is supposed to have to rely on them. But they don't, of course, because the CIA is a rogue agency and has been for decades, they don't want to have to rely and give the tip to other agencies that they are looking up somebody or doing some sort of spying. So they, of course, created their own cyber infrastructure for surveillance and hacking. And the leaks have they go from 2013 to 2016. They've got a lot of 0 days that were unknown in the wild. Andrew DeSantis coming out on Twitter, getting shadow banned for reporting on the EFI vulnerability in Macintosh hardware that was exploited by CIA because his hardware was exploited. There's no known fix to that. Twitter was, of course, shadow banning him on that the day before the leaks. And Assange himself called out, not by name, but he mentioned that exploit in an interview yesterday, I believe it was. So yeah, huge news. It made a very big splash tone. And I just want to call out the fact that while Satoshi did discourage WikiLeaks from accepting Bitcoin at that point in 2010, two things. Bitcoin saved WikiLeaks. They probably would have gone under without it, but instead, because they got such a massive influx of crypto coin at that time, I think they're probably still surviving on a huge trove of thousands of Bitcoin that are now worth millions and keeping them afloat. So Bitcoin indirectly caused WikiLeaks to survive, indirectly caused Assange to continue to be able to do this work and do these releases. And I think it's fair to say that Trump may not have gotten elected without WikiLeaks. So it's, that's a little bit more of an opinion, but it's
that's an awful and terrible connection that we never want to think about, Gabe. But let's cover this again at the end of the show. And let's go back
cool.
to Tom for a wrap up of the Bitcoin ETF chart. Go ahead.
Okay, so I was still on mute. All right, so the weekly chart, nothing really to see here. We're still doing really, really good. Here's the daily chart. I mean, I took a snapshot almost near the bottom. And look, we're already up. We're already back up to like 1100. The news is settling in. I mean, if we close the next 24 hours back above this China high, that would be great news. And then the buying opportunity at in the 900s will probably be gone forever, pending the Bitcoin Unlimited disaster. So what I was going to say was our current event is very, very similar to the halving. And this is what I've been talking about for over a month or two now, in that buying takes place way before the halving because the halving is a known event. By the time the event comes around, the selling has already taken place. Same thing happened here. All the buying took place in this area. There was an early pause because they got it up way earlier than expected. Then there was another shot at it, and then it already started to sell off. So that spike I already talked about, that spike is by professional traders are in Bitcoin that wanted to take out people's stops so that not too many people profit from the short position and only they do. So this was a deliberate attempt to just hit people's stop losses on their short positions. And now there was a spike on the announcement. And honestly, I think the worst is over. It's still possible, and we have to give it hours, but most likely the bottom of the channel got hit, and now we're going to be working on getting back to the top of the channel. Now, here's the Brave New Coin Liquid Index, and this one will not update till 9 p.m. today. And I think we came down. We dropped below this 50-day moving average, and now we're back up. So let's see if we can get back up above this red line. My chart doesn't seem to slide over. Here we go. Let's see if we can get back up. We went all the way down to like here to below the blue. I hope you guys can see my mouse. I can't really draw on this right now. Now we're back at the red. So we're actually right where I expected us to be when I drew this chart in the beginning of the year. We're right around 1150. So hopefully we can get back up there. Here's the interesting one. This is my hourly chart. I've been talking about this for weeks, if not a month or two. And honestly, this volume spike isn't all that crazy. I mean, it's similar to the volume spike that took place to knock out the shorts. Also, some money was made there. Let's see. This big hour has already ended. We're now on the following hour, and it looks like things are already starting to stabilize. So let's give it a few more hours, and we'll see if we can get back up to this 1150 range and above this low of 1140 that took place yesterday. We should be fine. And I am really not all that worried. And like I said earlier, I think this is a great thing. You know, it keeps Bitcoin decentralized. It keeps it in the hands of the people, and it keeps it where it should be, the way it was meant to be used, not in a Wall Street financial product. So I think that's all I really have to say on this. This definitely throws cold water on all these altcoin ETFs. And I don't know, if people see this as a Bitcoin opportunity, people will be dumping their altcoins and getting back into Bitcoin. But Bitcoin Unlimited has a lot more to do with that than the ETF. This was just an appetizer. The scaling, which we're going to talk about soon, is going to be a much bigger determinant of future Bitcoin price.
I'm also being told that we have a Judas candle. We're going to go to Chris Ellis for a comment on this, then to Theo, then to the exit question.
Yeah, so I just pull up a screen share here. So just to bring you guys up to speed with the lingo, because I think Theo mentioned it a little bit earlier, and Tone as well. So this is called a Judas swing in markets. And it's basically what happens when you want to stop everybody out. So you don't want to create any winners. in the market, even those that get it right. So let's say you shorted Bitcoin ahead of time because you knew full well, as Theo and Tone knew ahead of time, that this ETF wasn't going to get approved. You're still going to get stopped out because the market makers are going to drive the price up. You see here on the daily candle, and if I go into a 4-hour, you see that we reached all-time highs just a few sessions ago on the 4-hour. So
hey, Chris, sorry, Chris, are you sure your chart is on the big screen for everyone watching? Because I still see you talking and not your chart.
Go to my
It's
screen
on there.
share. Tom.
Yeah, it's on there.
It's on there? Okay, fine.
Okay.
A few sessions ago on the 4-hour, it reached an all-time high. That would have stopped out a lot of people that were already short, because they would have set trailing stops, for example, or they would have just been liquidated if they were on BitMEX Rect. So then it also stopped out all the people at the bottom of that candle at 1069 on Bitfinex. And now we've got the actual dump candle. But if I go out to like the daily, and I'll just do this really quickly, I'll go to the 3-day, you can see we're actually kind of touching on support here. So the wick on this daily candle currently is already going down into the tops of the bodies of the candles when we had our last kind of wick down. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is an opportunity to start. I'd wait for the day to run its course, wait for the daily close tonight. And then I would look to be putting in some bids, because I'm sure the Bitcoin community is going to come up with yet another narrative to pump the price again.
All right, Theo Goodman, did you have another comment on this?
Who, me? I have a quick comment. I just wanted to show my OG index here, and here we've got you can see. I just wanted to explain the appearance. We've been seeing more and more of these Judas candles in the Bitcoin market. They're often characterized with a big up FOMO and then a sudden dump. The candle you look at, it could appear as a Darth Maul candle, which is similar to where this is where your hands would hold the lightsaber. The character Darth Maul and lightsabers. That's why this is called a Darth Maul candle. And that basically clears the books, and everyone that was leveraged short or long is pretty much wrecked at that point. If it's a small market like Bitcoin, most people were just out then. Judas swing, the Darth Maul, and all that are definitely in. So the markets are already manipulated. Are manipulated. That's just what humans do. They manipulate,
Theo,
and they destroy each other.
I actually was not aware that was the name of that candle, the Darth Maul candle.
Well,
so
it's just a kind of no. It's just like a. That's I think. I just was looking for it as we were talking. I can't find. Actually, Barry Silbert, did do a tweet about Bitcoin trader terminology. I mean, we just already had some. We didn't realize it because we're used to it. Like Chris said, dump candle. And Judas candle, Darth Maul. There's all these little terms that are not even, and they're new terms. So just so you got a really good new term that's in style, you've got to get with it. They're no longer shit coins. Boutique. 2017 is not a shit coin; it's a boutique.
Yeah, well,
don't smell at all.
The crypto space has brought the world so many new terms.
Glad we went to Theo for that, because Darth Maul candles are going to wreck your market. And we're going to move on to the exit question.
Thomas,
and I'd like to thank everyone for the thumbs up and for sharing this episode. We have 340 viewers, some kind of new record.
Shit.
So thank you to everyone for the interest and the shares. And before we move on to the next issue, of course, I want to know the price of Bitcoin next week. Jeffrey Jones.
Price of Bitcoin next week, it's going to be up. That's my prediction.
Chris Ellis.
Up and down.
Blake Anderson.
It's going to be volatile.
Theo Goodman. You can unmute yourself. You can do it, Theo.
Correct.
I probably couldn't hear you. Gabriel Devine.
I'm going to go with Theo's answer from like 2 weeks ago, $888.
Tone Vase.
I'm going to go with higher. I do have to comment on one more thing because there was a good question in the comments from the live viewers. And the question was, how come no one knew when the actual SEC was going to make the announcement? I was informed that it was going to be Monday. Honestly, I was informed by someone that said, I have spoken to a high official and it's definitely going to be approved. And I just laughed at that person. But hey, here's the reason why no one really knew when exactly. Like, I had no idea. I honestly thought it was going to be Monday. The reason why none of us really knew when this thing was going to be announced is because we all live in this bubble where we think Bitcoin is important. And the SEC lives in the real world where there was absolutely no important investor that needed to be notified when this decision was going to have to be made. Okay, so people have to keep that in mind, that this is totally irrelevant in the eyes of the global market and in the eyes of the US market. This is only important to like the 300 people that are watching us live, and maybe triple that as far as people that really need to know when the SEC is going to talk about this. This is completely irrelevant on the global scale.
And Friday is historically known as Take Out the Trash News Day. A couple of comments in the chat. They want to know where to buy Bitcoin. You can buy Bitcoin at Coinbase.com or at localbitcoins.com.
Or you can just earn it.
And there's lots of other options, but
You
just
can
to
earn
start
it.
quickly.
You can work for it.
Now we're going to move on to issue 2. Issue 2, user activated soft fork. The Bitcoin community is abuzz this week with the possibility of activating segregated witness via UASF, a user-activated soft fork. Users could signal for SegWit just by running a Bitcoin node, which would also help confirm transactions and decentralize the Bitcoin network. Chris Ellis, is this new idea a breakthrough for segregated witness and for full nodes? Will the UASF allow Bitcoin to finally solve the scaling issue?
No. It was, so am I on? Yeah. So I've got a little screen share, and it's from back when I was first kind of doing the Fullnodes stuff. If you pull my screen share up on the screen for everyone. Somebody on the Bitcoin Wiki did a really good job of clearing up misconceptions about Fullnodes. And I completely 100% agree with this. It was never the motivation of the Fullnode project to pretend like it was anything more than what they've laid out here in this amazing article. And I'll just give you the TLDR. Simply put, the only node that matters is the one you use, right? End quote. That's great. We can come back. And so the point I'm trying to make here is that the point of running a full node is that you know that your private keys are safe. You know that all the rules on the blockchain are being validated by your node, and it runs locally first. That's the most important thing. It's secondarily about supporting the network. That's fine if that's a personal decision for you and you want to run some extra nodes in order to distribute the Bitcoin network across the world geospatially. If you want to protect it against DDoS, that's fine, but that's a personal decision for you. That's not an altruistic dependency that Bitcoin as a protocol needs. It doesn't require your altruism in order to work. Now, this idea of user-activated soft fork is my interpretation of it, because I don't want to get into the mud with all this political mudslinging on Twitter and social media, frankly, it's just a political move. It was designed to put the so-called big blockers and the RBTC group, as if they're one homogenous group of people, into a position where they now have to respond by saying, oh, wait, now we've kind of got this alternative and now we have to reconstruct our narrative. My personal view, having read this proposal, is that it would be, pretty dangerous, because the moment Bitcoin isn't designed to be a voting mechanism. People can set up, spin up 1,000 nodes on AWS, and you can Sybil attack the system. So it's not one CPU, one vote. It's not even one person, one vote. And it really just comes down to, the entry-level requirement would be user competency. So what you might end up with is just a very messy situation where we end up with 2 forks, and then the protocol stipulates there's a 100-block time limit where 2 chains can coexist. And if they don't rejoin, i.e. if one of the blocks doesn't get orphaned and all the transactions on that chain don't get orphaned, then we will have a permanent split, and you'll end up with like Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. So it's very important that we take a measured and controlled decision about this. I actually quite like what Charlie Lee has been saying recently. He's been going off on some rants. And I actually approve of some of what he said. Like, we really do need to just calm down. And Eric Lombroso as well. And I'm not into this whole, mudslinging and, name calling and attacking personality rather than looking at the underlying, don't attack the tone of the message. Go for the underlying arguments and the premises when you examine this, and educate yourself. I guess the bottom line, the thing I want to leave you with, is that education is decentralization. It's very important to Bitcoin that people know how to take responsibility for their shit. They have their private keys, they encrypt them because they know how to, and they don't outsource it to the Winklevosses, and they don't outsource it to Roger Ver or anybody else for that matter, and they learn how to look after their own stuff. That's why it's important.
Blake Anderson, your thoughts on Fullnodes?
On Fullnodes or user-activated soft fork?
Both.
Both. Well, yeah, Fullnodes and node running and proliferation is extremely important to the network and the health thereof, relative to the chain and scaling and all that stuff and the user-activated soft fork. I mean, I think it's good to be able to signal support for something. I do think that the amount of support that alternative options have is wildly overblown, and I think that a lot of people that are talking about the other options are bringing attention to things that don't necessarily need to be discussed in as much detail as they are. I think, stop worrying about what they're doing and worry about what you're doing. Continue on with the best course as far as the risk management procedures that you've set forth. Stick to your own roadmap, and then maybe try not to constantly respond to people saying that, your solution is categorically inferior when it's just not true, when it's incontrovertibly the opposite. And I think that that's a lot of what's happening.
Theo Goodman.
Nodes are good. Why not? I don't really have an opinion on this user-activated fork thing. Yeah, it does sound. I definitely agree.
Well, who's more important, the nodes or the miners? Who's more important?
What? I don't think it's as binary as that. All I know is that I'm interacting with real life situations where people vitally need transactions confirmed on a daily basis. There isn't a day that goes by where I have someone ask me, why is my Rare Pepe card stuck in the blockchain? We have so much backup, and it's unbelievable. And I'm not joking. It's an ongoing topic. Oh, use the via BDC accelerator. Oh no, I can't use it. My fee is so low that I can't even use that. It won't be accepted. Okay, well then you have to go to your wallet and raise the minimum fee. I don't know, how do I do that? So people are really learning also how to use their different wallets from getting Rare Pepe cards stuck in the blockchain. And maybe some of the congestion is in fact due to the infamous trading card Hair Pepe, which got some hair stuck into the chains.
Not a day goes by where I don't lament the incredible educational value of Rare Pepe.
Shill it.
Gabriel Devine.
You are lamenting the value, Thomas? I don't understand. Why would you lament this? It's a wonderful
I just
thing.
love hearing about it all the time.
Collectibles on the blockchain. Why not? Hey, it's the commodities. They become collectibles. That's how it is. The UASF, I've been seeing some interesting stuff to indicate that the pay-to-script hash was kind of activated in a similar way. Do you guys know anything about that? Chris is texting. But I heard pay-to-script hash was actually activated through node upgrades already. So we've kind of got a history of doing upgrade, as they say in Idiocracy, in this fashion.
The triple D's for a double dose of pimping. Yeah.
And then
That's right. UPGRAYYY triple D. I think that it's probably a more distributed model to use than heaping all the responsibility on hash rate. I'm really not sure why the core team decided to do it that way in the first place and not have some sort of node activated method anyways. I thought it was actually really strange that they chose 95%, that they went for hash rate. I'm not sure what they thought would happen there, but On the other hand, I think this has been a great thing. As I've said repeatedly, I think all of the drama is wonderful. I think all of the ad hominems are terrific. I'm not being sarcastic by saying that. Chris is giving me facepalm, but I genuinely think that this issue and the divisiveness has brought so many interesting issues to the fore that have woken so many people up to the importance of politics in deciding these things, into the vulnerabilities that the ecosystem suffers under, that the social vulnerabilities and the weak points where bad actors can come up with an entire political movement in order to undermine the base philosophy of an ecosystem. And I think a lot of people were naive about that. Now that we've gotten some interesting CIA docs talking about how they, for decades, have infiltrated organizations in order to create this type of drama, this type of schisms in organizations. I think it's great, and I look forward to more drama, more problems that we all have to overcome together. Because every time we go through these issues and survive, Bitcoin is stronger, and Bitcoin, the truth. The people with the stronger argument, the more evidence for their case, have been coming out on top over and over and over. Unlike in a democracy, we have a very different situation, and a lot of people are waking up to that reality. And that's one of the reasons, in my opinion, why Bitcoin has been experiencing a surge. We've got the Lindy effect and all of these political attempts at undermining that are failing. And I think it's wonderful. And I think it's great for us to have experienced possibly the failure of one activation method, and it's forced the community to look for alternatives. And I think maybe UASF is just the next step in that process. It's great. I think we're all learning, we're all getting better, we're all getting smarter, and this is all really good stuff.
All right, Chris. Hold
on, Chris has some good ad homs he came up with.
Yeah, I got some good no true Scotsman arguments ready for you. No, look, you made some good points. I think it's important that Bitcoin is able to resist some of these attack vectors, like the political attack vectors, the social engineering, working those back channels, calling up exchanges, asking them, how would you feel about this hard fork on the back channel, maybe, subverting and coercing users into upgrading without even realizing it, because so many people leave their coins on exchanges. And we've seen that from the hacks at MTGOX, Bitcoinica, Poloniex, Bitfinex most recently. We see that people tend to leave their coins on these exchanges. They're not your coins. They are hypothecated and token substrates, as Blake says. And therefore, people are not taking responsibility for their shit. So I agree with you that Bitcoin does need to be tested, but I don't encourage you, the viewer at home, to necessarily engage in these kinds of tactics. Like be a witness to it, but don't allow yourself to be thrown into the mud with all the rest of them.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's kind of one of the points why I keep harping on it. Like, hey, it's a good thing. Don't worry about it. Just laugh at it, enjoy it, and chime in if you really want to. But realize that most of what you're going to say is going into an empty void.
All right, Tone Vase, did you have a comment on user authenticated soft forks?
Yeah, was this the article you showed in the beginning of the story, Thomas, or we still have Bitcoin Unlimited on the schedule?
That's the last story. We're going to that one next.
Oh, we're going to this one next. Okay. Oh man, because this story actually said something very interesting, and I'll just read it out loud because this is going to go to only audio. So they're talking about a flag day where if a user activated soft fork is going to be a reality, right? So it says, assuming the entire network is mining with one client, non-upgraded miners are accepted by non-upgraded nodes. Upgraded miners are accepted by upgraded nodes and non-upgraded nodes. Upgraded nodes get rejected by non-upgraded miners. This was actually a very good statement. Most people will need to read this 3 or 4 times. But to me, this is very, very clear that the
upgraded nodes reject non-upgraded miners. They're not rejected by.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. Upgraded nodes reject non-upgraded miners. Sorry, I was like thinking far ahead. You're right. And if you read this, those that read this a few times, to me, this is fairly clear that nodes are in control and not the miners. And I think nodes will ultimately decide the future of Bitcoin. So I am actually a big fan of a user-activated soft fork. But once again, you want this to be like at least a 90% compliance on the user side, which may sound ridiculous and impossible. And perhaps that's exactly what the core developers assumed when they were deciding who should be given priority on the switch to SegWit, nodes and users versus miners. And of course, miners are also users, right? Miners are running a full node. And they decided to go with the miners because it was a smaller pool of people that needed to comply for that 90+% threshold. Now that all this controversy has stirred up, people have become much more aware. And I had actually, myself, without knowing what the hell a user-activated soft fork was, I didn't even know the acronym even existed. I was already on my blogs and videos trying to convince people that they need to run a full node to signal to the community what their interests are as far as scaling Bitcoin goes. So I was pushing for a user-activated soft fork without even knowing what the hell a user-activated soft fork was. To me, this was just a logical conclusion. Therefore, I have to be a fan of a user-activated soft fork. So at the end of the day, I think this turned out to be a great thing because I have not ran a full node for years. I used to run a full node like back in 2013 and probably 14, but ever since I got, Microsoft Surface 3, I just wasn't able to do it. Now that I'm home...
Not the Surface 3, no.
It's terrible, man. It's terrible. I need an upgrade. And so I can't wait to upgrade my computer so I can actually run a full node. People are even offering to send me Raspberry Pi so I can run a full node, and I need to take them up on the offer. But taking them up on the offer, exposes my at least my real address for people, which I kind of try to avoid. So anonymity and identity is hard to maintain, but I think a lot of people are about to wake up and a lot of people are about to run a full node. Now, I agree with Chris when he says that the priority of a full node is for security of your own transactions. However, I really like the idea of full nodes dictating where the direction of Bitcoin goes. If people want to run a full node and signal for Bitcoin Unlimited, they're going to find out real quickly that they're running outdated software by over a year, okay? And that's going to be an interesting situation. So it doesn't matter that, we're going to talk about Antpool next, so I guess I'll save it. So that's kind of my view on things. Of course, I don't want this user-activated soft fork to kick in at like 55%. If we're breaking 85 or 90% compliance, I would feel fairly safe to force SegWit in there if close to 90% of nodes are running SegWit compatible code. So if you are running a full node and you bought this full node from some middleman, please go and double check what software that full node is running. You should really be in control of what software is being run by the full node. On that note, I'm done with this, and I can't wait to talk about Unlimited.
All right, I think we're gonna go to Chris for a comment on a Sybil attack.
Yeah. So user activated should be replaced with Sybil activated. It's Sybil attack. So 90, when you say 90%, 90% of what? 1,000 AWS instances being run by one company or one agency that has the SSH keys to all of those servers running. So I think this was an ad absurdum argument that was deliberately placed in a kind of platonic rhetorical fashion by whoever anonymous person who probably works for Bitcoin Core, just in order to elicit this kind of controversy and debate, just in order to force the opponent to reevaluate their position and put them onto the back foot. I don't think it's a serious suggestion, and I don't recommend that this be the reason and your primary motivation for running a full node. You run the full node for all the reasons I mentioned about 2 hours ago when I was last speaking.
Okay, can we hold on a second? Wait. I gotta push back on on Chris here. Hold on. Unless somebody wants to say something.
Yeah, well, you run a node so that you can confirm your own transactions so that they're added to the blockchain. It's quite simple. It's not that crazy of an idea. And in fact, if anybody out there is part of a mining pool, even a small one, then I'm not joking. I'm totally, all the Rare Pepe talk is serious talk. We're looking for a possible mining pool that we can partner with to help us, because there's so many people who do all these transactions. So we need them to like accelerate the counterparty transactions, you know, onto the chain with us. And, you know, of course, now I've got some high power, you know, miners. I've got a few block eruptors. I've got a Antminer U2. So I'm not really heavy enough to do it myself, but maybe there's someone out there that does have a mining pool, and then that would help. And as we've stated, if you mine, you're running a full node. Pool is a node or whatever, but anyway, those are full nodes. They count as full nodes. So that's what they're doing. Now, even, so I don't know. I mean, I remember the old school made. It was kind of a joke, but I think it made sense for, not the node was a joke, but the idea was that you put the little USB miner in with it, and then it's like a 21 machine. Yeah, but that's to kind of show that that's the idea, is that you're processing the transactions. I mean, and if you see that little USB stick in there that's a miner, I think it kind of gets the brain flowing. Oh yeah, I'm doing something. You know, the node is doing something, kind of when you see that. I think that that kind of connects people with it. But I don't know. I mean, but yeah, I don't see how right now you have already the Sybil battle right now. You have all these statistics. Hey, look how many XT nodes are there. Hey, look how many core nodes are there. Hey, look how many classic nodes are there. Hey, look how many updated core nodes have appeared in the last 3 hours. Or look how many, or let's do the Google Insight chart on top of the node count. Or I don't know. I mean, there's so many ways you can go. I mean, it's going nuts right now with it. And even people are getting, people are getting a little bit more clever. So I've seen a chart of the, compared to the classic nodes, compared to the unlimited nodes. And it appears that people are getting a little bit more clever and spacing it out to make it look organic TM. But there were some really unorganic spikes. You know, there were, I mean, but it's like the XT one is really, it's like a Judas candle. It's like, and then the classic one is like, it looks really unnatural. Now the unlimited one looks more natural. And, you know, given with all of them, there are organic ones. I'm not saying that it's 100%, but, you know, come on, do use your brain a little bit. I think that you already have that. So I'm not sure what would change. The thing with this user activated fork is just the idea that Gabe or somebody asked me, who's in charge, Theo, the miners or the nodes? And, you know, you have, that's not how, I don't think that that's the kind of discussion that's going to lead anywhere positive. Now, now in the chat, someone said the UFC should be the one that has a fight to decide it. And I thought, well, that's a funny idea. What you could do is whenever you have these Twitter battles and you have a flag day, and if you haven't won the argument after a certain day, then you guys have to meet at the next, you have to decide before. Now, after the flag day is over, there's no more Twitter arguments, okay? And then after that, you decide you're going to meet at the next Bitcoin conference, and you're going to have like an oil fight or something, and everyone buys tickets, and that goes to charity. And then, but the idea is then you had your argument, it's done. Now, whoever wins the, you know, the wrestling match or whatever at the end, and there, you know, it's a gentleman's agreement, and then you're not going to ad hominem attacks after that. So then we can have like there's the fighting time, and then you have chill out time, and then after that there's a resolution. It's not like ongoing forever. Anyway, here's some good charts.
I would never ask that question. It was Thomas.
My money's on Bitcoin choking out Ethereum in the 3rd round. Let's go to Jeffrey Jones for a comment, and then let's move on. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, the panelists here really outlined it really well. So there's not a whole lot that I want to add, but except for just re-emphasize what a node is used for. That is to confirm your own transactions. That is so you can be secure. That is so that you don't need to rely on Coinbase. So you don't need to rely on any of these third-party companies. This is an important part of the Bitcoin movement in general, is to be able to secure your own funds. And so I just wanted to really emphasize that, as well as this user-activated software. It's going to be push and pull. The Bitcoin Unlimited pushed, and then the core pushed with this, and it's just going back and forth. And like Theo said, it's really not going to be any. We're not going to bear any fruit by trying to decide who's in charge of Bitcoin, because we all know that nobody's in charge of Bitcoin, right? No single person is in charge of Bitcoin except Thomas, and you don't want to piss Thomas off. So I think my point is that we don't want to put too much attention to these crazy things that are just popping up all over the time, like Bitcoin Unlimited, user activated soft forks. Keep your head down on your code and keep your head down on your work, because I know that Bitcoin Core is kicking ass, and I know that their newest version is amazing, 0.14.0. It syncs to the blockchain like there's no tomorrow, absolutely blazing, and there's so much positive comments about it on Reddit and around the actual Twitter sphere, just people loving it. So keep your heads down and keep coding, and I just don't think that Bitcoin Unlimited is really gonna do much.
So would you agree that in the age of information, that time is a scarce resource and attention is a scarce resource, and people need to put that to good use instead of just allowing anything to flow into their head anymore?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think that's definitely true.
I can't wait until we have Bitcoin crystal clear, and then new Bitcoin.
All right, let me just show the charts real quick. Okay, so I tweeted this out a few days ago, or like a day ago or something, where I showed, and you're right, there was a lot of bullshit, and the blue is the Bitcoin XT nodes that got just spooled up, and the purple is the Bitcoin Classic nodes that got spooled up, and there is Bitcoin Unlimited. I mean, it's going up, but it's not even close to where the other two were, and I don't know what it looks like today. And good point when he said it's like all AWS, and I don't really have the technical expertise on how to even spool these up, because that's just not something I do. But what I can say is I'm pretty sure in today's world of technology, we should be able to tell which nodes are relevant because they're accepting Bitcoin transactions, and which Bitcoin nodes are just there as fake. Now, I could be wrong on this. I am outside my area of expertise. Can we not tell which nodes are being pinged with Bitcoin transactions or not?
AWS nodes would just run like a normal node, and they would be as easy as running as duplicate, duplicate, duplicate.
We could reprogram Bitcoin to support it.
But yeah, you could just run them up. So I mean, there's no way of knowing. Well, let's move on to the exit question. How many versions of Bitcoin will be running this time next month? Jeffrey Jones.
Let me think about that for a second. At least 4.
Chris Ellis.
Yeah, I'd go with that. At least 4.
Blake Anderson.
I concur with the panel. I have no unique thoughts.
Theo Goodman.
That's all.
Okay, repeat the question. Repeat the question.
How many versions of Bitcoin will there be next month?
5.
Gabriel D. Vine.
What does Chris smell like, you guys?
That is not an answer.
He smells
Tone
nice.
Bays.
Well, we already have 5, right? So I'm going to have to go with 6. There will probably be another one. They'll come up with one more. I mean, on the screen that I just showed previously, we had 4, plus some idiots are running 8 megabyte code. So that's already 5. So I'm figuring we're going to have 6. By the way, just one more comment on this. I really liked what Peter Todd had to say when I saw him in Toronto. He's like, in a way, you should be happy that we're fighting Bitcoin Unlimited, because if it wasn't for Bitcoin Unlimited, Bitcoin Core might actually have to compete with like a competent alternative. So sooner or later, SegWit is going to win.
There can be only one version of Bitcoin, as there is only one blockchain, one Bitcoin. That's it. Moving on to issue 4. Issue 4, Antpool begins mining Bitcoin Unlimited. Antpool, one of the largest Bitcoin mining pools in the world, with more than 14% of the market's hashing power, has begun mining Bitcoin Unlimited. Bitcoin Unlimited, the alternative fork, now has more than 30% of the hash power on the Bitcoin market. Theo Goodman, I ask you, is this it? Is Bitcoin Unlimited making the ultimate move? Will Bitcoin Unlimited defeat segregated witness?
I don't think it's a. I don't like the question. I defer. You're not asking the right question, host. So the okay. You don't defeat the other one. This is just like a really
a battle
weird...
to the death between the two compatriots. Once
Will Bitcoin
now
Unlimited turn my camera back to white color? Okay, it does sound really dramatic. I'll give you that. So that was a good choice as a host to make it real dramatic like that. I would say they're not going to do it. This is not it. And I think that road, then it's put up or shut up time. You know, fork it then. I dare you.
Exactly.
Let's find those 13 Bitcoins. Gabriel Devine. Still me.
I'm looking at the article here, and I am not really that well informed on this subject. I haven't had time. We started early today. I was planning to read this one, so I'm going to defer my place.
All right, let's go to Tone Vase.
Oh man, I'm like pulling up a website on this to see the latest numbers.
The Surface has websites? What an amazing device.
Yeah, by the way, is it an official drinking game now? Every time I say the word Surface, you have to take like a full shot.
Where's my vodka?
So many shots. So
peer
many
pressure, man.
shots.
I'm gonna die from the alcohol.
Okay, hold on. Let me do a screen share again. Where are we here?
All right, we've got dead air. We're looking at some supply charts. Looks like Trivial Pursuit. I win this game a lot. I like Trivial Pursuit. What have we got, Tone?
Okay, so here's the thing. So we got what? We got about there's 4 of you there, plus there's 7 of us, right? Plus almost 400 people in live chat. Does anyone know anybody that's actually mining on Antpool? I'm just curious if there is any normal person mining on Antpool, because I don't trust China. I don't trust anything coming out of China, right? To me, is Antpool really a pool, or is it simply Bitmain pretending to be a pool? Can someone answer that question for me? I've never been a miner, so I'm really, really curious.
What is your question? Is Antpool? Is that the question? I think that's pretty clear.
No, Theo, I missed you. My question is Antpool actually a pool open to anyone, or is this like Bitmain with their own chips pretending to be a pool? Can someone answer that?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what the current state is. I know that at some point it was open to more than one person, but I don't know if you can. You mean if you can actually mine there? So Slush is the only so-called, or I guess the main pool that's old school setup, where a lot of different miners are really mining, as you would think. A lot of, I think the majority of the other ones are closed, and that would include Antpool. But someone can pull it up really quickly over at the WCN headquarters right now and see if they can. I just want to
know why they made the pool so small. It's the size for ants. No one's going to learn how to read good here.
No, I think, Tone, I think you're right, Tone. It's just Bitmain basically mining there. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
the other ones are like that too, I think.
Okay. Then.
Yeah.
Sorry. One more question.
Bitcoin.com and Slush.
Well, one more question. Look, I know we do the show, and I don't have time to know everything. It's almost impossible. I'm just able to process information fairly quickly once I know the information. Now, Antpool is obviously controlled by what's his name, Jihan Wu. Is he also in control of F2 Pool, or is that completely different?
We don't, as far as I know, it is different. Now, there are a lot of conspiracies going on that there's leased, hash rates from this or the other pool. Maybe Blake, our WCN mining expert, would care to chime in.
As far as I know, Antpool is run by Bitmain, and it's run for their stuff. But it's not like they're going to have lots of stuff that makes it so that if you point hardware towards their stuff, they're not going to be able to mine there. So I think it's kind of both.
That's a weird answer, but which I don't understand, but okay. All right, so here's my view on this, right? Like, this is why the only miner I care about is Bitfury, because they seem to be the only one that's somewhat honest up to this point. So I personally don't like Antpool. I don't like Bitmain because they just finally started mining full blocks. So up until yesterday, I kept saying, well, blocks aren't full. If blocks were full, Antpool would be mining full blocks. Also, via BTC wouldn't be mining empty blocks, right? Like, to me, this is ridiculous. You can't have an argument that blocks are full where miners aren't mining empty blocks. It's very ironic that the miners that are not mining full blocks are the same miners that are screaming, we need bigger blocks. Am I the only one that is like smelling the bullshit here? So there's a couple of ways this can you can think of this stuff. I should turn the screen share off. Well, it's kind of relevant though.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one who thinks that's super fishy and is obviously like a total red flag.
Yeah, I call bullshit on anything out of China. I've been calling their volumes bullshit. I've been calling everything out of China. Everything out of China, complete bullshit. Okay, so here's my view on it. Right, Jihan Wu, Antpool, F2 Pool, via BTC, they have a reason. They have two reasons for why. I mean, they don't give a fuck about actually processing people's transactions. They couldn't care less. Okay, Bitfury does, but these guys couldn't care less. All they care about is the mining reward. BTC.com doesn't care about mining reward. That's why they kind of gave it away. They're in it for the principle. But F2 Pool, Antpool, they via BTC, all they care about is about the mining reward. So if we go to a bigger block, 2 megabytes, that doesn't mean anything as far as these miners are concerned about clearing more transactions. What it would mean is that it becomes harder for people to run a node because there will be bigger blocks. There will be blocks over 1 megabyte. They will be harder to get through the firewall of China. It'll be harder to get into the firewall of China. Mining can become greatly centralized, and because Antpool and F2 Pool control a large chunk of the network, they would actually be able to dominate mining, but they don't care. They just want a bigger Bitcoin transactions. They're probably already working together, and they kind of split up into two just so that it doesn't look bad aesthetically on the chart of which pools and miners are dominating. So the only way to stop this is by running your own full node that is SegWit compatible. So even if the miners, these Chinese miners, are 50% in support of Bitcoin Unlimited, but 75% of the full nodes, and yes, I'm bringing this back to the full nodes, but 75% of the full nodes are segregated witness compliant. That means that if they try to fork the network, the blocks that they find will be rejected by the users. And then it becomes all about the money. And when it becomes all about the money, they are going to have to switch to SegWit. This is why these stories to me are very, very linked, and why running a full node is way more, SegWit compatible full node is way more important than just security of your own transactions. Now, how does Roger Ver fit into this? Well, he happens to run a business that depends on micropayments and buying coffee at Starbucks, which is actually unfortunate because I don't see that as a Bitcoin use case. So if anyone wants to start a conspiracy theory, it's that the Chinese miners are using Roger Ver as their mouthpiece, or as like Roger Ver is being tricked by these miners that they actually want 2 megabyte blocks to help them with this business. And I think they're basically just using him. Again, this is a little too conspiratorial even for my taste, but if you start putting the pieces together, this is what it looks like. And I'm not sure what else I can add to this. I think I kind of stated my point, that reject them. Run a full node that is SegWit compatible, and I will never accept a greater than a 1 megabyte block until, SegWit blocks are full, unless the system is 100% SegWit compliant. And now we're full, and now we need a bigger block because Lightning Network isn't ready, or Lightning isn't handling things. And then the core devs will be happy to comply with raising the block size in the safest possible way, and then I'll be on board. But I do plan to run a full node, and if I am the minority 10% of the network, so be it. I would love to start mining again. That would be, or not again, for the first time actually. I would love to start mining on a minority chain that is SegWit compatible, but I'm not lucky enough for that.
Well, I'd like to start my own conspiracy theory that Bitcoin is awesome. Let's go to Jeffrey Jones for his thoughts on Bitcoin Unlimited.
So, it's really kind of funny to me that Bitcoin Unlimited is trying to think that because they have Antpool, they have the entire system. I mean, we have these Bitcoin Unlimited people kind of coming out of the woodwork these days, trying to tell us that all the stats point to Core being rejected, that all the stats point to people disagreeing with Core. And to me, this is absolutely insane. There is no single freaking stat out there that shows that people are more agreeing with Bitcoin Unlimited than Core. So let me get that out of the way first of all, because people need to understand that there's a whole lot of FUD. And I swear I've had Twitter battles a couple times this week about people trying to tell me that all the stats point to people rejecting Core. Bruce Fenton, excuse me. And so I think that we really need to look at these actual numbers and really decide what's happening here. Now, Antpool, I did tweet out a tweet that said Antpool lost a bit of their mining share, but unfortunately that was actually a little bit longer time period than I thought it was over a couple months. But still, Antpool is losing hash rate after this announcement. And this is again one of those stats that you can just go look up for yourself and take a look and see, and not have to listen to the FUD. But yeah, this is just another play from Roger, trying to get his way. And I really see this, like everybody else, I think, on the panelists, including Tone and everybody, I think they just all see this as another distraction from Roger that just won't even come close to work, because at this point it's like fork already. We freaking double dare you.
Well, no, hang on. So you can slice a cake any way you want. And I think people are obsessing over these metrics. And there's a reason why these charts look so beautified and they're put on this lovely scrolly websites. It's because somebody wants you to know that information. And if they want you to know that information, it's because they want you to form a belief that is convenient to their end. So I would always view with skepticism any of these charts and figures that people want to point to, because they end up becoming social objects, things that we can point to and share and observe. And you just have to be very skeptical whenever you view these statistics, because they're just usually engineered in order to affect the way you form beliefs in your mind.
It's like in Silicon Valley when their boss guy has that big chart that he keeps referencing and pointing to, and they're like,
vanity,
you just made this up. He's like, no. And he
metric.
keeps referencing it until people are forced to accept it as a part of the conversation.
Yeah, it's discretionary attention. You said it earlier. We all have the same number of hours in a day. We are all constrained by time. And if you can force people to look at your statistics, your pie charts, then you actually control that narrative. It's called framing the perspective.
Would you look at it? Well, you just look at it.
Just think for yourself. Don't look to other people to form your beliefs. Don't look to me or anyone else to form your own beliefs. Stop trying to convince other people to believe what you believe. Just please be critical of the things that you observe on social media.
All right, let's move on to the exit question. Who will win, Bitcoin Unlimited or Segregated Witness? We're going to Theo Goodman for the result.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rare Pepe will win.
A surprise winner. Gabriel Devine.
I'm going to go with Twinkies Unlimited.
Twinkies Unlimited, a good pick. Tone Vase.
Well, I'm going to go with SegWit, but there is a third choice, which is status quo. And I'm okay with status quo, no matter how high fees get.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Let's go to Jeffrey Jones.
Sorry, what was the question?
Who will win, Bitcoin Unlimited or Segregated Witness?
The endless drama. The endless drama. Here's who's going to win. Bitcoin. That's who's going to win.
Chris Ellis.
Fucking sick and tired of this false dichotomy bullshit war. I think Twinkies are going to win.
Cupcakes. Ding dongs.
Yeah.
I think that the segregated witness will win because it's a categorically superior solution. It fixes problems in terms of separating out signatures. I think if Bitcoin Unlimited were maybe Bitcoin 2 megabyte, it might have a better chance of winning, but Bitcoin Unlimited is just, it's no.
And really, at this point, it's just technically proven by the community. The community is one after another. One Bitcoin Unlimited member of Reddit after another is coming to the light and seeing that this is a technically superior solution. Segregated witness is a technically superior solution. This is how the smartest people in the world think Bitcoin should go.
The answer is segregated witness.
Yeah,
let's move on to our stories of the week or prediction. Theo Goodman, are you ready?
Am I ready? Story of the week are those cupcakes. Damn, you got the Hostess cupcakes. Now I would suggest you head over to the nearest supermarket and go to the section and get Little Debbie. I don't know if they're called Nutty Buddies or what are they called? They're like, it's like a peanut bar. It's like peanut butter chocolate wafer. Now you got to try those. Those are good, and those are going to give you more protein per sugar ratio than these cupcakes. But those cupcakes are pretty legendary with the cream filling. That's the key element to them. Definitely
not as good
of the week.
Ding dongs are way better. I don't like those cupcake ones.
This episode is brought to you by Hostess as well as Confidential Transactions. That's the cream filling that makes the cupcake great.
I didn't know there was a difference between the cupcakes and the ding dongs. I thought those cupcakes were called ding dongs until yesterday. That's how far out of touch I am with reality.
No knowledge of the Hostess. Let's go to Gabriel Devine.
Get Blake out of there. You're not qualified for this conversation. Oh no. Come on, buddy. Come on. So my story of the week is my prediction is because 2016 and 2017 have been so crazy, so many upsets, Brexit, Trump, everything. We got so many more to come here all through Europe. It's crazy. Because everything's been so crazy, I said it on Twitter. I think the SEC is going to approve the ETF. That's my prediction.
Excellent prediction. Tone Vase.
Well, I don't really have anything other than, just want to have a little moment of silence and RIP for Jake Denelt, who I was just speaking to just like a few weeks ago. He's a Bitcoiner. He's spoken at a lot of conferences, and literally just today I found out from a chat group that he passed away, which just seems crazy to me. He was working for Brian Kelly, he was. I didn't approve of all the projects they were working on, including Nautilus Coin, but I was just speaking at a conference with Jake about a month ago, so that kind of just caught me by surprise. So just, I guess, RIP and a moment of silence for one of our fellow Bitcoiners.
It's a great reminder, Tone, and they had a small drink to him last night at the Drink Up, those who knew him to remember him. He was a very young man. I believe he's around 35 or 36. So it is a very sudden and unfortunate passing, and it's always sad to lose a Bitcoiner. So
he's the same age
as
Joel.
Same age prediction or story of the week.
Well, I guess I'm going to do both since they're both really quick. I guess my prediction is that this price is going to hold. It's not going to go into the 900s very long, and that we're just going to see new all-time highs again in Q3 at the latest of this year, and that I'm still looking for around 2,000 by the end of the year. And then as far as story of the week, just wanted to thank everybody for coming to the drink up last night, the San Francisco Bitcoin meetup. I've never been; it's my first time there, and so we had a couple fans of the WCN and my show come up, and that was really great to talk to everybody. So that was just an awesome time, and I just want to thank everybody for coming out.
We're also joined by Chris Ellis, who is internet famous, as confirmed last night at the meetup. People knew who he was.
They came. One guy actually turned up to see me. I was really, really grateful for. So I've got a screen share up right now. So just switch over to me there. So this is us. We're all here in San Francisco. That is thanks to you at home for donating like a Bitcoin's worth. And we're really grateful to whoever it was in the Monero community who at the last minute gave us like 0.3 Bitcoin's worth of Monero. I have no idea of verifying who that was because of all the insane anonymity that's going, the fungibility that's going on that chain. I tried looking up like the public address and I got into an awful lot of trouble. The Block Explorer told me,
I'm sorry, Chris,
how much this guy's public key? And you're trying to find out
how much did you get?
Naughty. So
no, Chris, how much did you get?
Yeah, it's back to my screen share. So look, I'm very grateful for this money that you sent us. This obviously supports all of the work that we've been doing over the years, and hopefully I've been trying to make a start at contributing back to that by giving you these kind of these live kind of tweets, the journeys that I made. This is what I had, the immigrant gap. There I am on the train at the height of the Sierra Mountain range in California, and this is what I went through to be with you guys here, and it was a very enjoyable experience. I highly recommend, if you want to see America, take the train. I got the train from Chicago. It's called a Zephyr, California Zephyr train. And yeah, okay, it was very cramped. There's lots of things that were kind of like, I had to get used to.
There's no Wi-Fi.
Don't undermine
train to the past.
There's no Wi-Fi.
Don't undermine yourself.
But it was an incredible way of seeing the country. I got to go through the Rocky Mountains, Denver, Colorado, went through Utah, and then Nevada, and then eventually the mountain range, which I found out was named after OS 10 operating systems. So, like Yosemite and El Capitan, and they named them all after. I was incredible.
Apple has had such an impact on this.
Yeah,
country. It's really
amazing. But there was, a bit of tidbit information. You can go back to my screen share again if you want to make it interesting. I did have went across this town called Cisco. Okay, and Cisco basically is not named after the Cisco routing network. Who knew?
Shock.
Right? No. So it turns out. So this is Signal Peak right here. And this is shot from the town community of Cisco, which is pretty much unpopulated now. Not very many people that live there anymore. But yeah, Cisco, the town gets its name from some like Mexican derivative. But the Cisco routers get their name from the Cisco at the end of San Francisco, which is where Cisco are based. And that's why you should really spell it with a lowercase c at the beginning. So there's your fun fact. So thank you very much for bringing me on this crypto quest. And I've taken all your suggestions and your feedback on board about what I can do to help repay you for that. And I've got some suggestions that I'm going to be working on in the coming weeks. So hopefully we're making that up right now.
And also just one final thing, I just want to thank Thomas again for having me out here. This is the first time meeting the whole WCN crew. So this was really a great experience for me, meeting Chris and Blake and Thomas, everybody live. So in real life. And yeah, just an awesome time. And just thanks so much, guys, for watching.
All right, Blake Anderson with a story of the week. Go ahead, Blake.
Story of the week. I mean, I think it's the drink up last night. It was really fun actually having people coming around and say, like, I like your work and buying you drinks and stuff like that. It's not something that I'm used to. So it was like really, really, really cool. Made me feel really happy and special. Thanks to everybody that came. Thank you definitely to the people that actually went out of their way to find me and talk to me and to buy me a drink. That's just, really, really made my week. And, we all had a somber moment for Jake last night when somebody, passes away before the age of 40, especially in this space. I mean, everybody has the, good qualities and bad qualities, and people that contribute to this space are so valuable. And when they are taken so young, it's just very, 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 like, it's horrifying to extrapolate the amount of things that could have been. So I just want to say, another moment of silence for Jake and all of you Bitcoiners. Be safe, be well out there. Take care of yourself. Fucking eat healthy. Don't smoke too much. Like, honestly, I'm not even just fucking around. Take care of yourselves. These people, I mean, we are a group of people that are important to the future. And I know that sounds extremely cheesy, but I really believe it to be true.
All right. And I just wanted to thank everyone who donated to bring Chris and Blake out here. We had a little fundraiser last week. We didn't announce it. We didn't make a big deal about it. But through $10, $50, even a few $100 donations, we got to our goal. And it's because of you. Sometimes we don't have the money to travel around to make this possible. But when you donate, you make this possible. So you help make this show possible. We're going to try to do some other interviews. We're having a great time here in San Francisco. We had a great time at the Bitcoin Drink Up, like everyone said last night. And if you don't have a meetup near you, it's time to start one. And if you have a meetup near you, it's time to start going. They're fun. You can be Bitcoiners and hang out and chat about things that you think are important. But apologies to everyone on the ETF today. It's too bad. It's bad news. Maybe the market's going to go down. Maybe it's going to come back. We'll have to see how that goes.
Just buy the dip.
Maybe buy the fucking dip.
dip.
Maybe pull your head out of your ass and buy the fucking dip.
Yeah, buy the dip. Buy the dip.
We're about out of time, and we can't hear Tone because we have the microphone on, but we'll talk to him again soon. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.